Good morning. We gather here today to honor Reverend Martin Luther King and his legacy on social responsibility. Tiana Williams and Alexis Vautrin will be reading a poem by Jacqueline Woodson, What I Believe.
I believe in God and evolution.
I believe in the Bible and the Quran.
I believe in Christmas and the New World.
I believe that there is good in each of us, no matter who we are or what we believe in.
I believe in the words of my grandfather.
I believe in the city and the South, the past and the present.
I believe in black people and white people coming together.
I believe in nonviolence and power to the people.
I believe in my little brother's pale skin and my own dark brown.
I believe in my sister's brilliance and the 2 easy books I love to read.
I believe in my mother on a bus and black people refusing to ride.
I believe in good friends and good food.
I believe in Johnny Pumps and jump ropes, Malcolm and Martin, Buckeyes and Birmingham.
Writing and listening, bad words and good words. I believe in Brooklyn.
I believe in one day and someday in this perfect moment called now.
Please be seated.
Today, as you've heard, our chapel is on social responsibility, which means working together to make a better world. I invite you now to get in your own space, to close your eyes, and to picture in your mind one of the pictures you saw on the screen. Spend a few moments thinking about what message that image brings to your mind. Be inspired to help.
The class of social justice, led by Mrs. Doane, and 3 of the students, Ava DeSantis, Emily Austin, and Hannah and I, will do a presentation.
This upcoming Monday, we will honor the work and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who we all know as a visionary pioneer in the fight for social justice and equality. In a 1957 sermon, he asked his listeners to seek a path of light and love, saying, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." His words from 60 years ago remain remarkably relevant today. So now Ava, Emily, and Hannah will talk to you about some of the people who are currently working toward Dr. King's same goals of equality and social justice.
About 70 years ago, Israel declared itself an independent Jewish nation full of refugees who survived the Holocaust. But Israel has not remained a stable nation because when those Jewish refugees immigrated there were already people, Palestinians, living there. Imagine someone showing up at your house and calling it their own. But they don't have anywhere else to live, so the situation is a little more complicated than that. Throughout the years, Palestinians and Israelis have fought violently over what they both consider to be their home. And right now, we don't have a clear solution. For the Palestinians who don't have control over their lives, not having a solution is incredibly painful. Meet Ahed Tamimi, a curly-haired 16-year-old girl. She loves soccer, her favorite team is Barcelona, and the ocean, which is only 30 minutes from her house. When she grows up, she wants to be a lawyer, but right now she's in jail for slapping an Israeli soldier. This isn't her first confrontation with a soldier in her occupied town of Nabi Saleh, a Palestinian settlement under Israeli military occupation. She sees soldiers every day on her way to school. Her family organizes weekly nonviolent protests. When she was 11, Ahed tried to stop an Israeli soldier from arresting her mother. Then when Ahed was 14, she bit a soldier who was trying to arrest her younger brother for throwing stones, and she rose to fame. Ahed's depiction as a heroine, a young girl known for her unique hairstyle, standing up to the government, manipulation of the media, and a universal symbol for a unified resistance movement, sounds a little bit too much like the Hunger Games to be real. Unfortunately, Ahed's life also seems a little unreal. She protests with her family and community every week to demand her basic human rights, like the right to travel within her own country, the right to a nationality, and the right to vote for government representatives. In an interview, when she was asked how often she had experienced tear gas, Ahed laughed and said she couldn't count the times. But Ahed says that when she's protesting, she's not scared. She's been participating in activism her whole life because her family raised her that way. When Ahed was 13, she received the Hanzala Award for Courage in Turkey for angrily reprimanding a soldier who arrested her brother. Ahed doesn't have a choice about the Jewish occupation of Palestine, but she's doing everything she can to make sure people know she's unhappy with it. She says that if there was no occupation, she would go with her friends to the ocean, which she can see from her town but can't travel to. She wants to see a live soccer match and wishes she could become a professional soccer player. Like any of us, she just wants to live a normal, happy life, but it will take some fighting to get there. In the age of connection that can span across oceans and international borders, activists can inspire and empower people all over the world who have had similar experiences and hardships. Sexual assault and harassment have been pressing issues on the minds of women from around the world who feel unsafe in their homes, on the street, and in the workplace. But only recently has it become a topic with national attention and debate. Throughout history, victims of sexual assault have been silenced by those in power and have been marginalized if they are brave enough to speak out. Because of the completely rational fear of losing their job or losing credibility or respect, victims have been silenced into a constant state of doubt and fear. The Me2 movement was founded by Tarana Burke, an African-American woman and activist, to give women a voice and a community of support and empathy. The community of support and understanding not only provides a safe space for all its members, but brings awareness to the magnitude of the issue. Tarana's passion to put sexual assault on the nation's radar began in 1997 when she met a 13-year-old girl who had become its victim. Burke's goal is to bring the attention to the victims, not the comments of the perpetrator. In her words, and this movement, this work that we have to do is about supporting survivors and about interrupting and ending sexual violence wherever it lives.
Indonesia is the second largest plastic producer in the world and polluter. They account for 10% of marine plastic pollution. There's so much trash in the waters around Bali that the wet season is also known as the trash season. Trash is everywhere. It covers the beaches. Bali produces 680 cubic meters of trash every day, plastic trash, and only 5% of plastic bags get recycled. At the issue's root are poor disposal systems and lack of education on the waste problem. So 2 sisters from Bali did something about the negative impact of plastic. In 2013, at the ages of 10 and 12, Melati and Isabel Wyson founded the Bye Bye Plastic Bags NGO. It is a youth-driven organization of 25 staff members and a board of directors, and they tackle the impactful yet achievable goal of eliminating plastic bags from Bali. To get the local government's attention, the 2 started a petition which eventually got over 100,000 signatures. For over a year and a half, Bali's governor failed to meet Melati and Isabel's request for a hearing, and so the 2 went on a hunger strike, which eventually convinced the governor to sign a memorandum of understanding to help the people of Bali say no to plastic bags by this month, January 2018. They inspired Bali's largest ever beach cleanup of 12,000 volunteers. In August 2016, they lobbied the Bali airport to initiate a plastic bag ban. So now, if you fly to Bali, at customs, you will be asked if you have any plastic bags to declare. Melati and Isabel are truly inspiring. Their success shows how much teamwork can accomplish even from such a young age.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexis, and I have a little personal story to tell you. Growing up, I really never saw myself as different. I grew up in a family of mixed race. All of my cousins, brothers, and sisters and I were all just a little bit different. We have one thing in common, however, we're all biracial. Biracial is when you have 2 parents of different racial backgrounds. In my case, my mother is white and my father is black. It was a normality for me, all through my toddler's years up until my summer before the 4th grade year of elementary school. My elementary school was very noticeably diverse when it came to race. Almost all of the little girls and boys in my class were mixed race as well. I had never before been in an environment where racial diversity was sparse. The summer before my 4th grade year, I was in a musical theater summer camp. Now I know what everyone is thinking, Alexis, we know you can't sing, so what were you doing there? But musicals need dancers too. When I arrived for my first day at the camp, one thing stood out to me very quickly. I was the only person of color. It was startling at first to be in an environment where it was painstakingly obvious that I was different from everyone else. But nonetheless, I pulled up my big girl pants, marched inside, and had my mind open and ready to learn. Everything was going exceptionally well until one day, another little girl who was in the dance ensemble asked me, Alexis, are you adopted? At first, I thought I had misheard her. No one had ever asked me that before. I responded with a, no, I don't think so. Why do you ask? And she said to me, because your mom is white and you're not. This wasn't something I had ever considered before at my young age of 10. So when my mother came to pick me up, the first thing I asked her was, am I adopted? She looked in the rearview mirror and said to me, no, of course not. I went through 23 long hours of labor for you. I couldn't forget it. Why do you think that? And so I went on to tell her the story of the conversation I had with the other little girl at lunch. This obviously made my mother visibly upset, and if you know my mother, she's very much like me. The next day, she stormed into the camp and had a very long conversation with my camp counselor. And later on that day, the little girl apologized to me. From then on, I got no more questions about my race or why I was darker than all the other kids at the camp. When I realize now, however, that even though I may have felt different on my first day, it wasn't the color of my skin that made me different. It was my acceptance of the fact that not everyone is exposed to racial diversity, and it's not your race that decides who or what you should be. I didn't allow my race to ostracize me from my fellow campmates and dancers. It isn't race or religion or sexual orientation that makes human beings different from each other. Although those may be our most outwardly characteristics, it's what's on the inside that truly makes us stand apart. Our intellect, creativity, likes and dislikes, athletic ability, and general personality is what makes us who we are. It's what enables us to grow and change as individuals. It's what makes us special. What I learned from that experience is that while you can embrace your race and your heritage, it can't completely embody who you are. You have to use your mind and your personality to find who you are and who you're going to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. I was at preseason field hockey camp, in August of 1968, when the March on Washington took place. My hockey team and I saw the famous "I Have a Dream" speech on what is now called live on television. Live TV news was fairly new then, and my friends and I in boarding school and then college spent hundreds of hours following the civil rights movement on television. My father forbid me to go to Mississippi to register voters. When Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis, where he had gone to protest the mistreatment of African American sanitation workers, we all cried for days at the gunning down of the champion of nonviolent protest. I got to live or grow up in a great time in this country's history, and it made a profound impression. In my closing prayer, all the words in this prayer are Dr. King's own words. I studied lots of his speeches and prayers, and I've lifted every single word of this prayer from his. Not one word is my own. I'm using his words because there is no greater voice for respect, for equality, and nonviolence in the history of this country. And frankly, because my own words could never carry the power that his do. I'm also going to ask Tiana Williams to read this Clark King prayer as our closing prayer. Tiana? All right, here she is.
All rise. Dear God, we pray for strength to carry on the work of peace and justice, and for the courage to be nonviolent. We thank you for the fact that you have inspired men and women in all the nations and in all cultures. We call you different names. Some call you Allah, some call you Elohim, some call you Jehovah, some call you Brahma, some call you the unmoved mover. But we know that these are all names for one and the same God. Help us to respect the dignity and worth of every human being. Help us to seek that which is high, noble, and good. Help us to work and renew vigor for the warless world, a better distribution of health, and the sisterhood that transcends race and color. Help us to realize that humanity was created to shine like the stars and live on through eternity. Help us to walk together, sing together, live together, until that day when all God's children, black, white, red, brown, and yellow, will rejoice in one common band of humanity. I have this dream. Amen.